Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a fantastic new report that's all about the massive podcast boom happening in China. We're going to look at who's listening, why the money is pouring in, and what this all means for the future of audio.
And a huge welcome to the陶醉Salon. It's really great to have you here with us for this breakdown.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The source for all this amazing insight is the 2025 Podcast Industry Report. This was a joint effort between the research giant Ipsos and the super popular podcast network Daydream Park. And the best part? It's all based on fresh data from 2024, so it gives us a really current look at who's listening, where the money's going, and, whether the ads actually work.
So where do we start? Well, you always have to start with the audience, right? They're the heart of everything. And as we're about to see, the Chinese podcast listener has changed in some really, really big ways.
So whatever stereotype you had in your head about podcast listeners, you can pretty much toss that out the window. The data shows the audience is way more gender balanced now, they're earning more money, and they're not just sticking to audio only anymore. This isn't some niche hobby. We're talking about a full-blown mainstream cultural force.
And, this shift towards new formats brings up the million-dollar question that everyone in the industry is asking: what role is video going to play in the future of audio?
Well, the data gives us a pretty loud and clear answer. A whopping 80% of listeners are open to watching video podcasts. Think about that. This isn't just a small trend. It's a fundamental shift in how people want to get their content, and it signals a massive opportunity for creators and platforms alike.
Now, when you have an audience this engaged and this willing to evolve, it's going to have a huge impact on the market. So let's follow the money and see how this is sparking a commercial boom across the entire podcasting world.
The boom really starts right here, with the listeners themselves. In 2024, we saw a really big change in behavior. People are more willing than ever to actually pay for premium content, whether it's subscriptions or special exclusive episodes.
And that money is flowing directly to the creators, which is awesome to see. The majority of them said their income went up last year. And that's a total game changer, because it's turning podcasting from just a passion project into a real, sustainable career for a lot of people. Of course, the brands have been paying close attention. They see this engaged audience that's willing to spend. They see creators making a real living, and so they've started pouring a lot more advertising money into the space. It's created this powerful, accelerating cycle of growth.
But all this brand investment brings us to the most important question of all. Do the ads even work? I mean, this report really gets into one of the biggest challenges for the industry, figuring out how to measure the real impact of an audio ad, beyond just counting clicks and downloads.
So, to figure this out, the report lays out this really smart 5-step model. It's about looking at the whole journey. It starts with the basics, like, do you even remember the ad? Then it moves to liking. Do you feel better about the brand? Then consideration. Are you going to look it up? All the way to the actual purchase and the holy grail for any brand, word-of-mouth recommendation.
Now, the data on liking is just fascinating. An incredible 62% of listeners felt more positive about a brand after hearing a podcast ad. This really shows how powerful audio is for building a real emotional connection. It probably helps that host-read ads feel less like a commercial and more like a recommendation from a friend you trust.
And that warm, fuzzy feeling, it translates directly into action. Over 61% of listeners said they were more likely to actually consider buying something after hearing an ad. Basically, it takes a brand from being just background noise and puts it right at the top of your mind when you're ready to shop. And the effect doesn't just stop with one person. Get this, nearly 59% of listeners are more likely to recommend a brand after hearing an ad. That's how you turn a passive customer into a powerful walking, talking advocate for your product.
So we know the ads work wonders for building relationships, but how can brands get the most bang for their buck? Well, the report offers a kind of strategic roadmap. Because, let's be real, not all podcasts and not all ads are created equal.
The report basically lays out two different playbooks. If you're a new brand, it's all about getting your name out there. You want to build awareness from zero. That means you should partner with those big, top-tier podcasts to get maximum reach. But if you're an established brand, the goal is different. It's about going deeper, creating authentic ads that feel like part of the story the podcaster is already telling.
And the type of podcast you choose is absolutely critical. If your goal is just to drive sales, comedy and talk shows are your best bet. They have that broad appeal. If you want people to remember your brand, especially if it's a tech product, go for tech podcasts. But, and this is key, if you want to build that deep brand love that turns into recommendations, self-growth podcasts are the absolute champions.
Okay, that was a ton of information, I know. So let's just pause and boil it all down. What are the 3 absolute must-know takeaways from this entire report?
First things first, the audience is an absolute goldmine. We're not talking about passive listeners anymore. These are engaged, affluent consumers who have money to spend and have proven they are ready and willing to spend it on content and products they actually believe in.
Second, the market has hit this amazing tipping point. It's like a giant flywheel. More listeners spending money leads to more creator income, which attracts more brands, which leads to better content, which brings in more listeners. That flywheel is just starting to pick up speed, and it's not slowing down.
And finally, and this might be the most important point of all, the real value of podcast ads is in building relationships. Forget just making a quick sale. This is one of the best tools out there today for turning a casual buyer into a loyal, long-term brand fan who trusts you, buys from you, and tells their friends about you.
And we're not talking about a flash in the pan here. The report found that the trust built by a single podcast ad can keep providing value for a brand for more than a year. That is an incredible, long-lasting return on investment.
So, that leaves us with one final thought. In a world that just keeps getting louder and more crowded with ads, maybe the most powerful tool we have to actually connect with people is the focused, intimate, and trusted power of the human voice.